back to the deep dive. Today we're tackling something that I think most of us, well, myself included, honestly, we desperately want to believe is just magic.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
You know that feeling? The lightning bolt across a crowded room.
Yeah.
The butterfly.
The spark.
Right, the spark. The idea that romance is this spontaneous, completely inexplicable force of nature that just happens. But we have a stack of research here today that is essentially a giant bucket of ice water on that whole poetic fire.
It really is. It's actually fascinating how much we romanticize the process. But when you strip away the poetry and really dig into the literature, and we have a massive stack of it today, you start to see what scientists call the human mating market.
Yeah, the mating market.
Right, and it turns out that magical feeling might actually just be a very complex algorithm running in the background of your brain.
An algorithm? I mean, that is just so unromantic.
Yeah. It sounds unromantic, sure, but it's actually incredibly efficient. We are constantly signaling value to one another. We're processing data points from biology, psychology, sensory inputs, and often without having a single clue that we're even doing it.
Well, we are going to expose the code today. For you listening, we've pulled together a really eclectic mix of sources for this one.
Very eclectic, yeah.
We've got data on the psychology of music. We have secrets from the world of mentalists and stage performers. And we have some pretty heavy, hard science on genetics and human nature.
It's a diverse stack, but the mission here is singular. We want to uncover the hidden drivers of attraction.
Exactly.
We want to figure out why you swipe right, why you feel that spark, and how things like your Spotify playlist or the way you move your eyebrows and even your genetic mutation load are making those decisions for you.
Okay, so let's unpack this. I want to start with the thing that absolutely blew my mind because it's so everyday. I mean, I listen to music constantly, but I never once thought of it as a biological mating signal.
Right, most people don't.
But according to the research, the music filter is basically the first gatekeeper.
It is the first hurdle in the algorithm, absolutely.
So we have data here from a few different studies. There's a big survey by TickPick and a piece on the scientific look at love. And get this, music is the #1 most common first date conversation topic.
#1.
It beats out movies, it beats out books, it beats out sports.
Which, makes perfect sense, doesn't it?
Does it though? I mean, I feel like my bookshelf tells you way more about my brain than my gym playlist does.
See, I totally disagree with that. We tend to view our musical taste as a proxy for our soul or our emotional landscape. One of the sources actually mentioned that people consider their Spotify history to be more intimately revealing than their bookcases or even their clothing choices.
Wow.
It's a shortcut. It essentially says, this is how I feel things.
So it's the ultimate vibe check.
Precisely. It's an emotional compatibility test that we run within minutes of meeting someone.
But here is where it gets really interesting, and honestly a little bit judgmental. The data shows that your specific genre choices have a massive impact on your attractiveness. They call this the genre wars.
The genre wars. It is brutal out there.
It really is. So let's say I want to hack the system for high relationship satisfaction. What should I be listening to?
If you trust the data, you want to be in the realm of classic rock, oldies, or jazz.
Yes.
Yeah, those correlate with the happiness.
Classic rock. So basically, I need to sound like I have a 401k and a steady heartbeat.
Stability is sexy, apparently. But what's really fascinating here is the gender divide.
Oh, right, the metal fans.
Exactly. The data shows some wild divergences. For example, if a man loves heavy metal, his attractiveness to women actually goes up.
Which is wild.
Yes, but flip it. If a woman loves heavy metal, her attractiveness to men goes down.
That just feels incredibly unfair. So a guy in a Metallica shirt is a bad boy, but a girl in one is, what, too intense?
It's hard to say definitively without more qualitative data, but it likely has a lot to do with deep-seated stereotypes of aggression or dominance. And we actually see the exact inverse with classical music.
Right.
A woman who loves classical music sees a boost in appeal. Maybe it's signaling elegance or sophistication, but a man who loves classical music, his appeal diminishes statistically.
So leather jackets for the guys, symphonies for the girls. It feels a little stereotypical, doesn't it? Like we're just reinforcing these old gender norms through our headphones.
It does feel that way. But remember, these are broad statistical trends of what people respond to, not necessarily what they should respond to. However, there is one universal negative.
Oh no, who takes the hit here?
Country music.
Oh.
According to the research, a devotion to country music was found to diminish attraction in respondents of both genders.
Ouch. Sorry to all our country fans listening right now. Please please don't shoot the messenger.
But we have to talk about the outlier. The one that really made me pause when going through the sources.
The K-pop one.
Yes. Couples who bond over K-pop reported the lowest relationship satisfaction of all.
Below an 8 out of 10, right?
Exactly, below an 8 out of 10.
Now, why is that? Is it just because the music is too upbeat?
I was thinking about this. The source doesn't explicitly say why, but if you look at the psychology of fandoms, K-pop isn't just music.
It's a whole thing.
It's a lifestyle. It's a highly immersive world where fans often form parasocial relationships with idols.
Oh, that is so interesting. So if I'm super invested in the emotional life of a K-pop star, maybe I just have less emotional bandwidth for the actual person sitting across from me at dinner?
Exactly. The perfect partner is already on the screen. Real life, with all its messiness and flaws, might just suffer by comparison.
That makes a lot of sense, actually. Speaking of priorities, though, I have to drop this stat from the Sonos and Apple Music study because it legitimately made me laugh out loud.
Oh, the Australian study.
Yes. They found that 46% of Australians said they would give up sex before they would give up listening to music.
Almost half. That is a staggering number.
Wow. But it really highlights that sound isn't just background noise for us. It is a fundamental emotional need.
And that actually transitions us perfectly to the why. Why does music matter so much? It's not just about having common interest to chat about. It's about how sound physically hacks the brain's arousal system.
Right. Which brings us to excitation transfer theory. This is Dr. Dolph Zillman's work. Now, explain this to me like I'm 5, because it sounds like something straight out of a physics textbook.
It's actually very simple mechanics when you break it down. Think of your sympathetic nervous system. The part of you that handles fight or flight has a gas pedal.
Okay.
When you get scared, the pedal goes down, heart rate goes up, your palms start to sweat. When you get excited or you exercise, the pedal goes down.
Okay, so the engine is revving regardless.
Right. But here's the glitch. The brain is really bad at reading the license plate of the car that pushed the pedal.
I love that analogy.
It knows that it's excited, but it doesn't always know why.
So if I'm amped up because I just ran a mile, or because I'm listening to an intense song, my brain just registers arousal.
Exactly. It's a dumb system in that specific way.
Yeah.
And if you happen to be looking at a potential partner while you are in that state of unrelated arousal, your brain often misattributes that excitement to the person.
It mixes up the signals.
Yeah, you think, wow, my heart is pounding, I must be really attracted to them.
This explains the famous bridge study, right? I remember hearing about this in a psych class, but the actual details in the source are wild.
The Dutton and Aaron experiment. It's a classic for a reason.
So they had men walk across 2 different bridges. One was this safe, low, solid wooden bridge. Total snooze fest.
Zero arousal.
Right. And the other was a suspension bridge. 200 feet in the air, wobbling in the wind. High fear, high arousal.
And at the end of both bridges, an attractive female experimenter met the men and gave them her number. She said, "Call me if you have questions about the study."
And let me guess. The guys on the death trap bridge called her.
4 times more likely to call than the safe bridge guys. They totally mistook the adrenaline of potential fall risk for the thrill of attraction.
That is mind-blowing. So practically speaking, for anyone listening, this completely ruins the idea of the coffee date, doesn't it?
Scientifically speaking, a coffee date is a disaster.
It's static. It's safe. There's zero external arousal.
Exactly. You want to take dates to, well, ideally a roller coaster. Dr. Cindy Meston actually proved that with a roller coaster study. People rated photos of strangers as significantly more attractive after getting off the ride than before they got on. You want that spike in adrenaline.
Well, we can't always just casually drop by a theme park for a first date.
Yeah,
Bringing it back to music, does this work with just auditory input?
it absolutely does. A study from the University of Vienna found that this priming works with sound. They played arousing and complex music, specifically 19th century piano solos for a group of women.
Okay.
After listening, these women rated men's faces as more attractive and were more willing to date them compared to when they sat in silence.
So the complex music acted just like the roller coaster.
Exactly. It created an emotional swell that the brain transferred directly to the guy in the photo.
Okay, so we've set the stage. We've got the complex piano music playing. Maybe we're on a wobbly balcony to get the fear response going. Context is set. Now you actually have to talk to the person you have to perform.
Right. Context is just the setup. Now we enter the mentalist's playbook.
This is where we pivot from biology to what feels almost like magic tricks. We're looking at sources here from professional mentalists and body language experts like Mike Mandel and David Jason.
And the source argues it's actually just peacocking.
Right, peacocking. So in biology, a peacock displays that massive, totally impractical tail to show he has good genes. It's like, look at me, I can survive even with this giant thing dragging me down.
Exactly. But in humans, we don't have tails, we have brains, so we display cognitive quality.
So a mentalist, or really anyone who is super witty and charming on a date, is basically just showing off their brain's fitness.
Correct. It's high-definition presence.
Let's get into the actual techniques from the source, because some of these really surprised me. The source talks about building rapport, and I feel like everyone thinks they know this one. You mirror them, right? Active listening.
Be very careful there. What do you think active listening actually is?
Well, if you told me I had a really hard day at work, I would say something like, it sounds like you're feeling pretty stressed and drained. I paraphrase it back to show I processed what you said.
And according to the mentalist Mike Mandel, you just broke the connection.
Wait, really? Because that is literally what they teach in every therapy and management course.
It works in therapy, maybe. But in attraction and building deep rapport quickly, paraphrasing muddies the waters.
How so?
When you use the word stressed, that was your word, not mine. My definition of a hard day might be that I'm angry, while yours is that you're tired. By changing the words, you inadvertently introduce a disconnect.
Oh, wow. So what's the move then? I just become a parrot.
Surprisingly, yes. You use their exact words. If I say I had a hard day, you say, tell me about your hard day.
Oh, I see.
It subconsciously signals I speak your language exactly. We are the same. It is a incredibly powerful validation loop.
That feels almost too simple. But I guess it completely avoids any misinterpretation. What about the eyebrow flash? I catch myself doing this to friends all the time, but I had no idea it was a documented biological signal.
It is a universal primate signal. It's that quick split-second raising of the eyebrows when you see someone you know or someone you like.
Right, just a quick flick up.
Exactly. It signals, I know you, or I am safe, or we are of the same tribe.
And if you don't do it, like if you just stare at them.
If you stare at someone without that flash, it registers deep in their brain as a predatory stare. It reads as aggression.
Wow. Okay, so flash the eyebrows, repeat their words exactly. And there was this other internal mindset trick in the source that I thought was brilliant. Mandel says you can simply pretend the other person is the most fascinating person you have ever met in your entire life.
Yes, because if you adopt that mindset, your mirror neurons will handle all the physical signaling automatically. You don't have to overthink your posture. Your body will just do it.
That is such a great hack. Okay, so that's projecting. Let's talk about reading people. Because the source from David Jason breaks down eye movements and physical cues, and this is classic mentalism stuff.
This is the claim that eye direction correlates directly with which part of the brain you are actively accessing.
Okay, let's try this live right now. Ask me a question.
All right, tell me, what color was the front door of the house you grew up in? Visualize it.
Okay, I'm picturing it. My eyes just went up and to the left.
Exactly. Up and left is typically visual recollection. You are accessing a file that already exists in your memory banks. That is the truth look.
Okay.
Imagine a purple elephant with bright pink polka dot wings.
Okay, got it. And now my eyes are going up and to the right.
Visual construction. You are actively building an image that doesn't exist. You're using your imagination.
So in a dating context, if I ask, hey, where were you last night? And they look up and to the right.
They might be constructing a story rather than recalling one.
That is dangerous knowledge.
Now, obviously, you shouldn't break up with someone solely based on an eye twitch, but it is a data point.
Right, it's a clue. And the source also mentioned the lips. Thinning lips indicate disapproval, and biting the lip usually indicates anxiety or concern.
Exactly. It's all about reading the micro-expressions.
Okay, so I've got the music, which is the context. We've got the mentalism, which is the performance. But the sources suggest we have to go deeper, like way deeper. Because you can have the best marketing in the world, you can eyebrow flash perfectly, but if the product is bad, the seal won't stick.
That is a phenomenal analogy. The mentalism is just the marketing, but the product is your genetics.
Right.
And this is where we turn to Kevin Mitchell's work in his book on human nature. This takes us all the way down to the hardware level.
This section completely flipped the script for me. Because we usually think attraction is about finding good genes. Like, oh, he's tall and smart, he has good genes. But Mitchell argues we're actually looking for the absence of that.
Precisely. It is the theory of minus variance.
Explain that, because minus variance sounds super abstract.
Think of your DNA like a massive, incredibly complex software code, or a blueprint for a skyscraper. Millions and millions of lines of code. Now, every single time that code is copied, little typos happen. Mutations.
Glitches in the matrix.
Right. And most of them are completely harmless. But some, the minus variants, they impair function just a tiny bit. Maybe they make your metabolism 1% less efficient or your reaction time 1% slower. We all carry these.
We're all a little buggy.
We are all walking around with buggy code, but nature wants to minimize those bugs in the next generation. So attraction acts like a built-in virus scanner. We are constantly scanning potential mates for signs of a low mutation load.
And the biggest visual proof of clean code is facial symmetry.
Yes. Because building a human body from a single cell is an absolute architectural nightmare. It requires perfect timing and coordination. If you have a lot of genetic noise or minus variants, the developmental process gets a little sloppy.
And that shows up as asymmetry in the face of the body.
Exactly. It throws the balance off.
So when we find a symmetrical face beautiful, we aren't just being superficial. We are biologically hardwired to recognize that symmetry means the blueprint was followed correctly.
It signals robustness. It literally says, this organism developed according to plan despite the environmental stress.
That is fascinating. We really are just biological computers scanning for errors. But the source also mentions that our scanners aren't all the same. This concept of the welt, the sensory bubble we live in.
This is crucial to understand. We walk around assuming we all see and experience the exact same world. We don't.
The tetrachromats example in the text blew my mind.
It's a rare genetic condition, mostly found in women. Most of us have 3 color channels in our vision. Tetrachromats have 4. They can see colors, subtle shades, and nuances that are literally invisible to the rest of us.
It's like they're living in 4K resolution and I'm stuck on an old 1080p monitor.
That's exactly it. So imagine trying to bond over a beautiful sunset with a tetrachromat. She is seeing a symphony of color that you physically cannot perceive. And this applies to everything. Personality, sensitivity to noise, how things taste. We live in our own welt, our own sensory world.
And attraction happens when those bubbles overlap enough to actually communicate.
Precisely.
And Mitchell argues that these bubbles, our core personalities, are largely pre-installed, right? The whole blank slate idea is dead.
It is very much dead in this field of science. He uses the dog breed analogy, which is blunt but incredibly effective.
I love that. It simplifies it so well.
We readily accept that a border collie is genetically wired to herd things. It's not a choice the dog makes, it's just an instinct. A pit bull is wired to guard. Now, humans haven't been bred by a master breeder, but we have been bred by natural selection. We come pre-installed with biological dispositions for shyness, aggression, or novelty seeking.
And the twin studies prove this undeniably. You separate identical twins at birth, raise them in completely different families on different sides of the country, and they still end up with the same bizarre quirks and personality traits.
Their brain connectivity patterns are almost identical. The hardware essentially determines the software limits.
So let's try to pull all this together for the listener, because we have covered a massive amount of ground today. We started with the idea that love is this magical, spontaneous thing, but what we found is that it's really, well, it's a sales funnel.
It is a sales funnel.
Yeah.
And a highly rigorous one at that.
You've got the top of the funnel, which is the context.
Yeah.
The music, the excitation transfer, keeping the heart rate up so the brain is primed by.
Then you move to the sales pitch, which is the performance, the mentalism, the exact word mirroring, the eye contact and eyebrow flashes, building that immediate trust and rapport.
And finally, you have the product inspection, the hardware check, scanning for symmetry, and a low mutation load.
And if all 3 align perfectly, you get the lightning bolt, you get the magic.
But this leaves us with a pretty heavy philosophical question. And the source on neurosexism and biological differences touches on this nicely. If our brains are sexually dimorphic, meaning physically different between sexes, and our preferences are hardwired by these minus variants, and our feelings are being manipulated by the background music playing in the cafe, how much free will do we actually have in choosing a partner?
That is the existential crisis right at the heart of this deep dive.
Right, like am I actually choosing you? Or is my genome just recognizing that your genome has clean code and my sympathetic nervous system is just confused because we're drinking espresso?
It strongly suggests that love might just be the user interface that our genes use to get us to cooperate. We feel the romance, but the biology is just executing a background command.
That is slightly terrifying.
It is, but maybe it's also liberating. If it's an algorithm, it means you can stop beating yourself up over why you clicked with person A and not person B. It wasn't a failure of your character, it was just a mismatch of code.
That's a much nicer way to look at it. We're all just looking for the right software patch.
Exactly.
Well, listener, here is your homework. The next time you are on a date, I want you to stop and look around. Notice the background music. Is it jazz or is it total silence? Watch for the eyebrow flash when you walk in. And ask yourself, is this true love or is it just excitation transfer?
And maybe check your Spotify Wrapped before you go out.
Definitely check the Spotify. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
See you next time.